The 2024 elections have come to a close, and Donald Trump was revealed as the next president, and the stock market has reacted quite positively to this news. As we can see from the heat map here, there is a ton of green across the S&P 500. All of the sectors are doing very well, even looking at the semiconductor space where we can see some significant gains with Nvidia up 9% and Broadcom up 8% this week. Tons of companies saw growth recently, so let's take a look at my portfolio where I'll show you this month's dividends, overall increases, and some new positions. I am now up to around $147,000 in my portfolio. If you saw my last video, you'll notice that I have made quite a few changes which we will go through. Starting off with my holdings, now I have 7.5% of my portfolio in SCHD. This is one of my personal favorites. My goal is to have a balance of dividend paying stocks and some growth paying ETFs. I also grew my S&P 500 position through my VFV holding, and this is up to 20%. Vanguard's VDY and BlackRock's XEQT are still huge holdings for me, representing half of my portfolio on these two alone. Now, to circle back to some changes I made last month, this came from a decision to close out some of those positions that were down on the shares. I didn't get to close them all out for a profit, but I felt as though I was missing out on potential growth by not purchasing some other funds that had been on my watch list for a while. I'm more satisfied with my new holdings now, as I feel they are more in line with my objectives, although there still is a few changes I would like to make as time goes on. The performance of these holdings has been very good recently, so looking at things for just October, the price appreciation has been phenomenal. This comes mostly from that great run in the market we had in the last few weeks. Some of my larger holdings in the S&P 500 did very well, making me around $880 last month, and I had some significant gains from global equities as well. This was shown in my XEQT position, which earned me around $607 for last month. Now, looking at the dollar figure doesn't give justice to the true performance of these individual ETFs, since some positions are larger than others. So for that reason, I like to regularly monitor the individual percent increase. In doing that, I could find that my technology focused ETF was my top performer last month, returning over 5%. Now, this position does not make up much of my overall portfolio, but it has returned a little over $307 last month. So although it performed the best, since it has a lower weight of my overall holdings, it can make it challenging for that dollar figure to shine through. We also had some good growth across the board, since that S&P 500 holding was my second highest position in terms of percent returns, followed by SCHD. When I tally up all of the gains across my individual positions, I could find that my price appreciation alone on this portfolio grew by $2,000. I'm definitely happy to see some positive values across the board here, as the last 2 months have been great for the growth. We can't forget about the dividends. This month was not as high as the previous. Some of my ETFs pay on a quarterly basis, so we'll go through a bit of a dry patch here. My top payers for this month were my VDY position, which is driven by financials and energy, and my private credit position was the second highest dividend I received. This position is one that has a lot more risk, and it is relatively new to me, but I wanted to make sure that it only represents a small part of my portfolio, since I was not sure how it would perform. The main benefits for it are the monthly distributions. However, they seem to be inconsistent, but for this month I received about $75 for the distribution. Again, this is a very risky position, but it suits my goals of trying to build some monthly income. To summarize the dividends, I received around $258 for the month of October. Now, moving along to the overall performance for October, we had approximately $2,000 from share appreciation and $258 from dividends. So this brings the total up to about $2,300. We've got everything on a chart here, so the dividends are shown in red and the blue represents the price appreciation. This has been a very successful month. I certainly couldn't ask for much more. Finally, let's give you a final breakdown of how the portfolio has been performing overall. So I now have 9 holdings. XEQT has been my top performer in terms of dollar figure, returning a little over $7,200 since I first brought it into the portfolio a few years ago. This represents a 42% gain. My second best position has been the monthly dividend fund in VDY. I am now up around $4,250 or 21.5%. I also want to shed some light on the more risky funds in ZWT, which is the technology-based ETF. So I bought this close to 3 years ago now. The initial position was around $3,000, but I have purchased some more shares over the years, and I do use the DRIP program to get more with the dividends. Since then, the technology sector has been on an extraordinary run, and I am now up around 64% overall on this holding. Again, I definitely knew this would be a more risky ETF for my portfolio, but so far this position has gone well. Overall, there's lots of green across the board here. On my holding growth chart, I track the percent returns to give myself a better idea of how the funds are doing. Overall, the portfolio is up to to around $147,000, and this is quite the improvement from last month. So hopefully we'll have some more positive news in the coming months as I continue on this financial journey. Let me know what you think of my portfolio in the comments below. There's certainly a lot to consider when building your own portfolio, so I'd be interesting to hear what you think of my strategy and approach to this. If you made it this far in the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more financial education related content.